In 1885, a blacksmith named Jebediah Brown was living in a mining town called Purgatory Point in the Old West. The mine contained large amounts of element 115, which started to affect people who went down there. One of the miners turned into a zombie and attacked Jebediah's mother, killing her. Wanting to find answers, Jebediah went down in the mine where he spent 5 days without realizing it. Later, on April 19, Jebediah had a vision in his sleep. 2 angels asked him to build a machine, a pack-a-punch machine, which became a success in the town. On June 30th, Jebediah had another vision. The 2 angels asked him to create an Agarthan device. The Agarthan device had 3 components: the blood of an elder god found at the bottom of the ocean, an elemental shard created by forging 4 human souls to a rock of element 115, and a metallic vril vessel. Jeb managed to craft the vessel, but had no means of obtaining the blood or the souls. After crafting the vril vessel, Jebediah upgraded it with the pack-a-punch. As a result of this, and the fracturing of the Earth after Ultimis helped Maxis launch rockets from the moon in 2025, a temporal rift was created, transporting the entire town, including Jebediah, to an underground cavern in Angola. Afterwards, zombies began to overrun the now-buried town, killing its inhabitants, including Jebediah. On June 30th, 1908, a meteor containing element 115 crashed near the stony Tunguska River in Siberia. Over the next decades, more deposits of element 115 were discovered in Germany, Japan, the United States of America, and on the moon. In 1931, after a large deposit of element 115 was found in Breslau, Dr. Ludwig Maxis formed Group 935 as an international German-led research team, becoming its head scientist. The Der Riese facility was established at Breslau. Maxis sought to use the newly discovered element to improve the human condition by developing advanced technologies. He invited Dr. Edward Richtofen, who would later be known as Ultimis Richtofen, to join Group 935. Richtofen agreed, secretly acting on behalf of the Illuminati's interests. By 1939, Maxis and Ultimis Richtofen started working on the first teleportation experiments with a matter transference prototype. The experiments were unsuccessful. The subjects were teleported, but their chemical composition was altered, leaving them catatonic and changed. Ultimis Richtofen also began the development of the Wunderwaffe DG2. In the same year, Maxis turned to the Reichstag and the Nazi Party for additional funding. They agreed to their request, expressing interest in Group 935's weapons research, teleportation technology, and the reanimated undead subject to help the Axis win the war. 1. Ultimis Richtofen and Dr. Schuster continued working on teleportation and successfully teleported a walnut during test trial 151. The result, however, failed to impress Maxis, who revealed to Ultimis Richtofen that Group 935 would be soon funded by Nazi Germany. Ultimis Richtofen worried this would lead to mass defections. He decided to continue the experiments with Schuster behind Maxis' back. In early 1940, Ultimis Richtofen and Schuster conducted the first human teleportation test. Ultimis Richtofen was so confident in its success that he volunteered himself. He was teleported to the moon where he encountered the Ether Pyramid, calling it MPD. While inspecting the device, Ultimis Richtofen was electrocuted and began hearing many voices of corruption, including the Shadowman's. He was then teleported to Shangri-La in the Himalayas, where he was worshipped by the natives who built an altar in his name. Ultimis Richtofen also encountered the focusing stone for the first time. Corrupted by the dark ether, Ultimis Richtofen was gradually driven insane by an obsession to reach Agartha. Ultimis Richtofen returned to Der Riese a few weeks later with a plan to build a station on the moon, called Griffin Station. He also renounced his involvement with the Illuminati. Frustrated with Maxis' alignment with Germany, other disgruntled Group 935 scientists joined his cause. Several months later, Maxis contacted the Reichstag High Command, requesting additional funds, stating that Der Riese lacked not only the funding, but a sufficient volume of element 115 as well. In response to his request, Nazi Germany built 2 new facilities in Berlin for Group 935. They were known as the Kino facility, a repurposed theater, and the asylum facility at the Wittenau Sanatorium. The Imperial Japanese Army handed over the Rising Sun facility to Group 935, which collaborated with Division 9 at the facility site. Group 935 also established a facility in Siberia near the Tunguska River and a research facility at Der Eisendrache, called Eagle's Nest. By 1942, Griffin Station was completed. Ultimis Richtofen appointed Dr. Grof as lead scientist and tasked him and Schuster to discover a way to power the MPD. While at the Rising Sun facility, Maxis developed the ray gun prototype, while H. Porter worked on the second-generation model. In May 1942, after soldiers returned from Africa, Ultimis Richtofen reported that they found a number of artifacts from an American town. Among the artifacts and documents recovered was pieces of the pack-a-punch machine from Jebediah Brown. Ultimis Richtofen gave the schematics to H. Porter to replicate Brown's work. Ultimis Richtofen also discovered plans for the Agarthan device and the Vril vessel, as well as the Vril device. On June 13, 1942, as a result of temporal rifts caused by Ultimis traveling through time to reach the Kino facility in 1963, Dr. Monti reached across time and space and offered little nudges. One nudge is helping Group 935 to develop element 115 fused elixirs. They created 4 medicinal beverages known colloquially as Juggernog, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. At Griffin Station, Groff and Schuster unwittingly discover how to charge the MPD when Schuster killed a rat near the device. Its death inexplicably began charging the device by filling its tank. They reported their findings to Ultimis Richtofen, who began sending soldiers and scientists to be sacrificed to charge the MPD. By the end of 1942, Maxis expressed concern over element 115's impact on Ultimis Richtofen's behavior. Although no longer trusting him, he left his daughter Samantha in Ultimis Richtofen's care as Maxis himself was transferred to the Kino facility with his assistant Sophia to focus on creating Germany's undead army. In 1943, Nikolai Belinski, who would later be known as Ultimis Nikolai, was captured during the Battle of Stalingrad and became a test subject for Group 935. The same year, Takeo Masaki, who would later be known as Ultimis Takeo, was captured by Group 935 on the orders of the Emperor. In 1944, Pablo Marinas, a Mexican spy, was captured by Group 935 at Der Eisendrache. In his cell, Pablo wrote of visions of a great war. He described a great battle against strange, demon-like creatures who were trying to devour the earth. In his visions, he saw 4 knights protected him from certain death. He made a note that the knights wore tunics similar to the statues in Der Eisendrache. In 1945, OSS operative Peter McCain infiltrated Group 935. In July 1945, Richtofen traveled to the Siberian facility to do further research on live specimens. As her temporary guardian, he took Samantha with him. Ultimis Richtofen also brought the Vril device with him. Several days after his arrival, a reporter was arrested near the facility. When Ultimis Richtofen interrogated him, the reporter revealed he was working for Mr. Rapt, who was looking for several artifacts, among them the Vril vessel. After Ultimis Richtofen refused to give him the vessel, he ordered the guards to kill the reporter. On August 1945, Group 935 began to transfer 3 test subjects for experimentation: Ultimis Nikolai, Pablo Marinos, and Ultimis Takeo. Ultimis Richtofen began experimenting on them few days after their arrival. Ultimis Richtofen also started looking at a way to create an elemental shard in order to build the Agarthan device. Suspecting Group 935 would lose control of their experiments, Peter's handler, Cornelius Purnell, sent a Marine recon team lead by Tank Dempsey, who would later be known as Ultimis Dempsey, to extract McCain, whose cover had been blown. In September 1945, during an operation with Harvey Jena, another American spy, Ultimis Richtofen extracted Pablo Marinas' spleen. He noted that the barrier to unlock the human mind was not located in the spleen. Believing Marinas dead, they dumped him into the river. However, Pablo survived and would later awaken in a pocket dimension at the bottom of the river before swimming back to the Siberian facility, where he would remain for the next 20 years. Several days later, the recon team arrived at the asylum facility where an outbreak occurred. Ultimis Dempsey was captured and sent to Ultimis Richtofen in Siberia to replace Pablo Marinas. Ultimis Richtofen continued experimenting on Ultimis Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo, and documented the personality traits of his test subjects. Dempsey's intellect seemed low, but his will was strong. Takeo was still staring at the floor, muttering what sounds like some kind of proverb over and over again. Nikolai had recently begun responding to stimuli, but only after injections of a new serum made primarily from vodka. Ultimis Richtofen noted that their minds had been almost entirely broken, with no memory remaining of who they once were. While at the Siberian facility, Ultimis Richtofen also experimented on Samantha. As he continued to find a way to build the Agarthan device, Ultimis Richtofen managed to siphon a piece of the souls of his 3 test subjects into a processed rock of element 115 using the Vril vessel. He used his own for the 4th soul required. As the souls were injected to the rock, it transformed and created a shard of glass. Unbeknownst to Ultimis Richtofen, by forging their souls to the element 115, he bound his soul and the ones from Nikolai Belinski, Takeo Masaki, and Tank Dempsey to the ether across all dimensions. All their different versions were now connected to the ether through time and space. After learning from Harvey Jena that Maxis didn't mass-produce the Wunderwaffe DG2 as promised, Ultimis Richtofen started plotting to destroy Maxis and his daughter. He vowed that he would no longer continue to work on Maxis's undead army. With the war over, Maxis returned to Derisa in October 1945 and ordered Ultimis Richtofen to do likewise so they might continue their work on the matter transference device. Several days later, Ultimis Richtofen arrived at Derisa with his test subjects and Samantha. On October 12th, Grove contacted Ultimis Richtofen to inform him the MPD had been powered up and was awaiting the conduit. On October 13, 1945, during a series of teleportation test trials, Maxis used Samantha's dog Fluffy as test subject. Fluffy, now changed, was teleported back into the chamber. When Samantha saw Fluffy, she ran inside the teleporter. Maxis chased after her, and Ultimis Richtofen sealed them in the test chamber before teleporting them away. While Maxis was teleported to the crazy place where he learned the power to merge with electricity, Samantha was teleported to Griffin Station. She ran inside the MPD where she became corrupted by the dark ether. When he learned about the incident, Ultimis Richtofen ordered Grove to teleport Maxis to the moon to coax Samantha out of the device. Maxis approached the MPD and he persuaded her to come out. Once she did, Maxis gave her the instruction to kill them all before killing himself and merging with the technology of Griffin Station. Samantha then entered the MPD and unleashed the undead upon the base, killing anyone involved with the organization. The next day, an outbreak occurred at the Derisa facility. H. Porter activated the alarm before killing himself. Ultimis Richtofen returned to the facility where he awoke Ultimis Dempsey, Takeo, and Nikolai. With no recollection of who they were or who Richtofen was, they agreed to help him. The 4 would become known as Ultimis.